Hello everyone, my name is Sploosh and I need your help. Video games are in trouble, and if you've played video games for as long as I have, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of you may wonder, who is this guy, this Sploosh character? Well, I actually played competitive gaming in Team Fortress Classic and basically most of the Battlefield series. I was in undisputed top teams playing with such people as XCal, Dino Riding Jesus, or aka Waldo Dude, Dasgro. We played in a clan called 20ID and were undisputedly dominant in those games. And so I bring to you my experience and the experience of playing with top-rated gamers throughout gaming history. Before we get into games, I want to talk about an analogy. I want you to picture that you're a Grand Prix motorcycle racer. As a Grand Prix motorcycle racer, you are skilled at going 217 miles per hour top speeds. You are skilled at doing those crazy turns that maybe you've seen in pictures where that guy's knee is just a little bit off of the ground. So you're just a little bit off the ground and you're flying around those corners at whatever, hundreds of miles per hour. And you actually are the best MotoGP racer in the history of MotoGP racing. But then, like Captain America, you're stuck frozen in ice. 13 to 14 years go by. While you've been gone, they added training wheels because those crazy turns were deemed unsafe. And then, because of the training wheels, they started bringing max speed down. And they brought that max speed down year after year, wink wink, all the way down to 25 miles per hour. Now don't get me wrong, 13 or so years ago, that would have seemed insane and no one would have agreed to it. But every year, things just change a little bit, and all of a sudden, that's MotoGP now. MotoGP is a bunch of dudes on motorcycles with giant training wheels going 25 miles per hour. And now, there's a new generation of racers. You get unfrozen like Captain America, and the first thing you think is, man, I cannot wait to go and race again. And then you look at your sport. Your sport makes you want to throw up. You can't go 200 miles per hour anymore. You can't pull those crazy turns and be the champion that you used to be. And you're frustrated. That's where we start this story today. This video is for those people out there who played only Call of Duty and maybe some Battlefield 3. The other dudes out there, you know, the guys who know what HPB means? High five to you guys. To you guys, take a chair and just listen and enjoy. And starting with this conversation, I'm going to begin at 1996 with Quake Team Fortress. I understand that there's Quake 1, and there's Quake 2, and there's people probably out there screaming, come on man, those Quake games were the ultimate in skill. If you played those games and you were good, you were the man. I get that, but listen, Quake Team Fortress brought together the first real team-coordinated aspect of gaming in a multiplayer setting, and it brought skills. I honestly did not play myself competitively, but I was actually friends with people in a clan. It was called like Wolves Moon or something like that. Anyone out there that knows about them or their existence? What's up, dudes? But anyway, the people who made Quake Team Fortress in 1996 were actually hired by Valve. Pretty cool, right? So at this point in gaming, we're at the beginning, okay? And then for me, in April 1999, Team Fortress Classic. It's hard to show people or explain to people who've never played games at this point what skill is. And I'm going to try my best to explain to everyone what these games brought to the table that you don't see nowadays and why it's important. Now, anyone that's played Call of Duty knows that when you play a first-person shooter, you need aim. You need to hit your target, right? There's map awareness, so you need to know everything about the map, all the corners, how long it takes someone to get from A to B on that map, where people might go on that map at any time, traffic. You need to, know what the key spots of the map are, so maybe you could defend them or whatever. And then, of course, you throw sound into that. So sound is a little bit of a map awareness. So, okay, we can establish that any game I mention, you need aim, map awareness, and sound. And my point is, and I'm going to work in a little circular here, but pretty much the only thing Call of Duty has brought that shows skill and allows skill to do something productive is pretty much drop shot and head glitching. And I mean, head glitching is debatable because honestly, how much skill does it really require to go to somewhere and start head glitching and not moving? So the reason I want to keep the COD people awake at this point, but I'm going to bring you guys back. I just pretty much named every skill in Call of Duty. I tried to think of like, what is skill in Call of Duty? The closest thing I could come up with that's kind of a skill is the addition of Stalker in Modern Warfare 3. For those who've never played Modern Warfare 3, Stalker allows you to move faster when you're ADSing, which is aim down sights. I actually think this is probably the greatest contribution to the Modern Warfare series or COD series ever, because it brings into play some things I'm going to talk about. Well, let's go with this, okay? Let me just say that when I played Team Fortress Classic, there were people who came from Quake Team Fortress, and they immediately called every person that played Team Fortress Classic a newbie because the game was easier. All right, so that's a point I want to make throughout this conversation. Let's just start. Okay, so Quake Team Fortress players come to Team Fortress Classic and they immediately label everyone like, hey, if you didn't play this, you're a newbie, and this game is easy compared to what I came from. And to be honest, they were right. And what is it that they meant? Well, in Quake Team Fortress and in Quake in general, people moved super fast and they jumped fast. They weren't floating like Halo. They were moving, all right? And there was this thing called bunny hop, which, if you've never seen bunny hop, and by the way, if you see any videos of this bunny hopping, which I'm probably going to throw in here, this isn't fast forward, okay? This is real-time speed. I often wonder if people watch like an old clip of a game and think, wow, was this sped up? No. Okay, so movement. Why is movement important? Well, when you have good aim, let's say you are the greatest Call of Duty player in the universe and you never miss. In fact, let's just say you have like an ACR and you're just headshotting everybody. Okay, so you have good aim. But in these other games with these fast movements, it became a skill not to just aim, but to dodge them while also aiming perfectly. So that might be a juke. That might be a quick left and a long right. Whatever, maybe you go left real quick, you go right real quick, and then you jump backwards or jump forwards or spin around. The possibilities are endless when you have fast movement speed. You are causing the other guy to miss. Now here's the crazy part, right? You might have two guys who are amazing at juking, but then that ups the ante on the accuracy. Because let's say that guy's flying around the screen and you're still hitting him every time. That's skill. It's fun. And it offers opportunities and moments that are exciting. You watch a montage right now for Call of Duty. It's what? It's a bunch of feeds. It's, 4 kills in a row. Awesome. A quick scope. And a lot of fast forward, slow motion. Fast forward, slow motion. So it looks like the guy has this like crazy aim. It's boring, man. How about a guy who he's at half health and he just killed 3 people because he juked the crap out of them? I want to watch that. So movement speed is super important here. And you can pretty much assume, without me even saying it, that every game I mention from here, you're going to get a little bit slower. A little bit slower. Remember my analogy about the motorcycle? A little bit slower, a little bit slower. All right, so then you have 2 kinds of weapon types that you barely see in these games. You've got the rocket launcher. I'll just throw that one out there. Forget the word rocket launcher. Think of the word projectile. A projectile is something you shoot that you can actually see moving, requires prediction. And it's not just, now keep in mind too, prediction means something when your character's fast, okay? You've got the Predator missile and you've got these random grenade launchers. Projectiles, Predator missile. You want to show some skill? Take a Predator missile and shrink that AoE down to like the size of a person in a game. But forget it, because I actually hate Predator missiles and I wish they didn't exist. And then you got the shotgun, all right? The shotgun is, think of the, Spaz 12 or whatever in Modern Warfare. In Modern Warfare and all these games, you hit someone once with a shotgun, they generally die, maybe twice, right? That's not shotgunning. That's not shotgunning. Shotgunning is, let's say you have to hit someone 6 times and you've got 8 shots or something. With a shotgun and you add in all the movement speed, that's perfect shot, pump, perfect shot, pump, perfect shot, pump. See what I'm saying? It'd be the equivalent of like sniping someone 6 times in a row to kill him as fast as humanly possible. And maybe your opponent, he missed one of those 6 shots. So if you hit him all 6 and he missed one, you win at equal health. Do you see my point? If you're good at these games and you have this kind of mechanic in your game, you can show that you're better. That comes to the next topic, which is health. I think when I was saying 6 times you gotta hit someone with a pump shotgun, there was probably some people going, holy crap, in the games I play, if you don't kill the person in under 1 second, it's considered slow. And I wouldn't want to play games where people take that many shots to kill, and that's so unrealistic. Can we just say, like, realistic and Call of Duty, those games are considered arcade shooters. If you really want to go for realistic, and anyone that's played those realistic games where you get hit in one bullet and you die, it's not very fun. And playing Team Fortress Classic for years with people and playing Team Fortress, there was never a concern about realism. It was about fun factor and getting better at a game and growth and having fun experiences where you can do something that shouldn't have been possible. And I haven't even got to the good stuff yet. People who played, and I'll jump in a little bit. The Quake 3 Arena came out in December 1999. So Team Fortress and then Quake 3 Arena came out. I knew tons of people who were max skill in those games. Quake 3 Arena, I'll be honest, I owned the game and I played a little bit. And when you got raped in Quake 3 Arena, you got raped, in Quake 3 Arena. Okay, and there was things that, a lot of what I'm talking about was in that game as well. The thing about Quake 3 Arena was it was 1 versus 1, so it just didn't draw me enough to it. It was just like this lonely aspect to just that 1 versus 1. But it was a lot of like mind games. It was almost like a StarCraft-y kind of mindset to first-person shooters where you had to outthink these people. But the next thing I'll bring up, which is sort of Quake 3 Arena relevant, is bunny hopping. I think I just mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to elaborate. Bunny hopping was the idea of you had a certain speed, let's say 100% speed, and then you could maintain it by jumping properly over and over again. And you could do that in Quake 3 Arena at the expense of sound, because every time you jumped, your guy would go, hoo, hoo, hoo. So anyone listening and playing like a defensive position would hear you coming. They'd hear the hoo, hoo, hoo. But you had the bonus of speed. And by learning that, you could actually like find spots on the map. It was almost like being a skateboarder or something. You just picture how much fun that is in a first-person shooter to be flying around the map and knowing these like sort of like skateboarding trick-like moves. The second and last thing I'm going to talk about, grenades. In these games, there were grenades, not in Quake Arena, but in the Fortress games, there was these grenades. You had a set amount of grenades. You had to hold a button down. The grenade would blow up in 4 seconds. The skill was waiting to like when to release it. Maybe you could release it early and ricochet it off a wall, so you'd have like more time if you were going to die quickly. Grenades did good damage. Some people argued were overpowered. But that gets into my last point, which is the concussion grenade. Probably the greatest invention in gaming history. If you jumped at the last second of the 4th second, you would go flying in the air. And based on how early or slow or whatever, you could actually adjust for arc. And then once you were in the air, you could hit the strafe keys, similar to bunny hopping. This is a first-person shooter with RPGs. You imagine trying to hit a rocket to slow this guy down. And granted, the one negative of bunny hop, which is a good thing for balance, is if you hit somebody in this hopping motion, they couldn't just keep going. You would stop them if you hit them right. So you had to spin around and throw things behind you, conk. You had these concussions where you could actually get yourself to shoot forward if you jumped properly. And then you could slide off of ramps, like I was saying, like almost like a trick where you could hit a ramp at full speed, like 300% speed. It would slide you up the ramp, and then if you hit duck at just the right moment, you could actually fly off of the ramp instead of stopping at the ramp, which was a normal mechanic. Really great stuff. Then we go to Battlefield 42 in September 2002. So we have Battlefield 1942, September 2002. In my opinion, Battlefield accidentally allowed skilled gamers to keep going. Because honestly, at this point in gaming, skill is starting to drop. And by the way, some people are going to get pissed at me if I don't mention this, but there is Counter-Strike in June of 1999. It eventually became Counter-Strike 1.6. Unfortunately, Counter-Strike in a way was sort of the beginning of the end, because Counter-Strike really is almost like a beta for what Call of Duty is now. Battlefield 1942's engine was lacking, and because of that, you had to aim a lot ahead of people to hit them, which was interesting because if you picture a guy is strafing almost point blank with you and you have to aim like an inch to the left to hit him, and then all of a sudden he starts strafing the other way, it actually created this weird little like game of like trying to hit someone point blank, and actually kind of created a skill in itself. And then if you picture at long range someone's running, and this is every single gun in the game, I'm not talking like just a sniper rifle or whatever. If a guy's running at long range, you'd have to aim like 2 inches in the direction he's going to kill him. And a lot of times you're doing this with like bolt action type rifles almost, or whatever, or you'd have to kind of do bursts because the guns had high spread. So props to Battlefield because that created a skill cap. And then another thing great about Battlefield is what I could really call like the Sherman tank effect. The Sherman tank was an easy to hit, easy to kill tank, but it had speed and it had the most difficult projectile in the game to learn. The reason was because it wasn't like a rocket that just propelled straight. It wasn't that fast, and it had an arc on it. So in a tank versus tank situation, you had to lead, let's say, 2 inches to the left, and then you'd have to aim, let's say, 2 inches up and fire that thing. To me, this was, and this goes into why the newer Battlefields suck, because in these games you could have 1% health on your tank and still go at full speed. And what this allowed for, and there wasn't this thing where your tank couldn't turn or your turret couldn't turn because they put in some code that made the thing turn like a snail. So this allowed for moments for me in competitive gaming where we actually played against the best team. My team got second place in Season 1 of the Cal title. And the first place team, I remember vividly, I was kind of new to the team, but I was a starter. And so the leader of the clan, he always took like the best tank. He'd take like the tank killer. I forget the name of it, but I took the Sherman tank, and I love the Sherman tank because I mostly only drove it, and I played the crap out of their Battlefield beta. And this tank, to most people, was considered kind of terrible, but I liked that it was quick, and if you mastered the aim on that thing, it was just as good as any other tank. And I remember vividly playing this team, and we lost in round 3 against them, the best team in the game at the time, which was called Dummies. I'll never forget the leader of the clan at the end of the game sent me a message, and he was like, "Good game, man," or something. And I felt so good because I got like a medal in the game, like because it ranked you, and I was in my Sherman tank, and it was just amazing. I think I killed like 8 dudes in a row, and it just felt so good. Like that feeling of being in an inferior quality product and taking everyone out because you mastered the gun and you used the speed to dodge shots. And you did what shouldn't be really possible, or I guess is possible with a certain amount of effort and skill. Those moments need to come back, okay? And then I'm just going to quickly mention, you got Battlefield Vietnam, which I played competitively with that 20ID clan, and that came out in March 2004. First of all, had the best helicopters ever invented in gaming, and they fixed the engine up so that the lead wasn't as far, but it still had the lead, so there's still a lot of skill in every gunfight. And the tank projectiles, they weren't as arcy as they used to be. They're a little bit more straight, so that was a bit of a skill reduction. Fast forward, Battlefield 2 came out June 2005. Battlefield 2 basically made tank shots into railguns. They took away most of the leading in the game, but there was still a little bit. And by the way, before I started playing Battlefield, the first thing I said, man, this game's easy. And now you got people like, that I respect, XCal and Waldo, and they look back as if Battlefield 1942 was some epitome of gaming and took all this skill, when you had, Quake and all these things going on well before. It was cool to learn tanks and helicopters, whatever. And it was a lot of projectiles in Battlefield 42, so good job. And then, so we move forward, you got TF2 and COD 4 came out in 2007, one in October, one in November. Again, when I saw TF2, I was like, what is this? This is super crazy easy mode. They took away grenades. They took away concussions. They slowed down everybody. They slowed down the speed of the projectile. And then they added this weird team, like paper, rock, scissors, medic, heavy weapons guy, sentry gun. There's a lot of like skillless goofiness. And it's funny to me too, because people look back and say Call of Duty 4, the best Call of Duty, the most skilled Call of Duty, which is pretty funny. When Call of Duty 4 came out, people were like, this is so easy. People who played Battlefield with me dominated Call of Duty 4. I went to LAN parties and just wrecked everybody at that game while waiting to play TF2. Things I could talk about with Call of Duty. See, here's a funny thing. I can't say anything else about Call of Duty as far as skill. I can only talk about what made it easier. You've got stacking teams started to become a big thing. You got the recon drone, so you couldn't hide away, or the blackbird, so you could group up as friends and all get blackbirds and just see everyone on the map for the entire game. Don't get me wrong, I think kill streaks are super fun, but when all you can say about a game is that it's good because you can drop shot, and which most people don't even do, or hide behind objects, come on, let's move on with gaming. let's tweet some people. Let's tweet some some people who make these games and tell them we want something different. We want something that's going to show off our skills. Don't be nervous that like you're just going to get destroyed by people when you play a game like that has all these higher skill curves. Get excited because there's going to be lots of people you can kill. Let's take a battlefield and add some more skills back into it somehow. I hope they can. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but since I did play a lot of Battlefields competitively, I have a soft spot for that concept. How can they fix the Call of Duty series? Keep Stalker in the game. And honestly, don't hate Ghost so much because people relying on a minimap. These minimaps didn't exist. It's like a crutch to have a minimap tell you where people are. Let's change the format a little bit. I don't know. I thought it was interesting where Blacklight Redemption added that like wall hack tool. It's an interesting twist on the concept because it added this thing where spawn switching wasn't such a big deal and camping wasn't such a big deal. But at the same time, they really dramatically reduced the effectiveness of the minimap, so it kind of worked. But I can talk solutions and future thoughts in another video. Thank you for watching. Adios.